You may have seen me promote all over my social media recently. I am starting a YouTube channel, so if you're here right now, welcome to the channel. I am known as Ben, but I'm also known as Heat from the Spire, as we all know. And I am a full-time reseller, which I've been doing now for the last around 2 years or so. And I wanted to start this YouTube channel because I wanted to start documenting my whole journey from now onwards. I really wish I started 2 years ago, but YouTube hasn't always been something I wanted to do as a reseller, because you think that pushing out your social media would be your Instagram, your TikTok. And I don't think anybody in this game that's a reseller has ever tried to do YouTube. So I thought, well, why not try and start now? So welcome to the channel. And I'm probably going to be using this video now to talk about where I've started and how I've got to where I am today. And then we're going to follow on with sort of like weekly videos, kind of documenting what I'm doing in my business every week. Because I feel like people expect this game to be really easy when I can tell you it is not. People just think you buy clothes, you photograph them, and then you sell them. But there's a lot more to it than just that. And I feel like, you know, starting this channel, it might motivate you guys to start, or it might put you off. I don't know, but we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't even know where to start. So I may as well start off with introducing myself. My name's Ben, and I'm a 21-year-old lad, and I live in a place called Wiltshire, and everyone thinks my accent is really, really posh, but I can tell you I am the opposite of it. So I grew up in a place called Salisbury, and if you know Salisbury, you probably know them for the Novichok poisonings, where these Russian spies got poisoned, literally 5 minutes from my house. I've had a relatively normal upbringing, nothing major's happened, and this is not why I'm in this position today. I did very badly at school. I done all right at college. I mean, I passed sport, and this business now has absolutely nothing to do with sport. So if you're watching this and you think if to run a business that you need to go to college, you need to go to uni and get all these degrees, it's total nonsense. You don't need any of it. And I'm going to tell you the exact steps that I took to be able to run this business, and none of it required any qualifications, funnily enough. Right, we're going to travel all the way back to 2020 now. Now, I was working a job at Sports Direct, earning a whopping £4.58 an hour, and I don't know how they get away with paying their staff that little. That is criminal, especially for a 16-year-old as well. And at the time, I was also studying a sports course at college. We just freshly come back from a trip to Spain, which was totally free, playing football for 2 weeks, and I was definitely in my element. It was one of the best trips of my life. Made some friends forever, which I still speak to this day, and it was overall very good. But a couple of weeks after we came back from that trip, we got put into lockdown, which was one of the weirdest times of everybody's life. And to this day, I don't know how I sat indoors doing nothing for the next year, but this is what motivated me to start my business and to put me exactly where I am today. Because I don't think if we went into lockdown, I don't think I would have ever started it. I think lockdown played a very important part for people to start online businesses and, you know, to adapt themselves and find out what they truly want to do. But yeah, it was a weird time, wasn't it? Now, the first couple of months of lockdown, I admitted I have done absolutely nothing. I was playing Warzone till 3 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't turning up to my college calls. In other words, I was just really unmotivated and I couldn't be bothered to do anything. I ruined my sleep pattern because I was playing Xbox so much, but I just knew that wasn't ever going to get me anywhere, because I knew eventually I would get bored of playing Xbox. So I started doing a lot of online shopping, because at the time I got a second job, so I started working at a local one-stop, which was paying me £9.50 an hour. And on top of having a furlough job, which was paying me about £300-400 a month, I was getting an extra £400-500 a month. So I was getting like £1,000 a month. So at the time, 16-year-old Ben, £1,000 a month in lockdown whilst doing pretty much no work, I was feeling quite rich. And I'm not going to lie to you, £1,000 to a 16-year-old is quite a lot of money. Now, I was a semi-trendy guy. I didn't wear cheap clothes. I didn't wear like caramel walking boots with chinos to school and that. You know, I used to wear Nikes and everything like that. But obviously, having so much money, I wanted to spend a little bit more than normal on clothes. And then I started buying like Armani, and then Armani went to a bit more high end. And then I ended up buying a lot of Stone Island clothes. So I ended up buying several Stone Island bits, and I ended up having like 3 jumpers. I ended up having like an overshirt, and then I stopped there because my parents were like, oh, why are you spending so much money on clothes? And to be fair, I was spending about £400-500 on clothes, which I've never done before. My parents are looking at me like, what the hell, you should be saving up, you know, because at the time I hadn't bought a car. I hadn't started learning to drive yet, so I was kind of being a bit irresponsible with my money, but at the same time I was enjoying what I was wearing. It's not like I could go out and do driving lessons. What's the point in buying a car? But when I got bored of these pieces, you see, I used to sell them, and I used to make a little bit of money on top. So that navy Stone Island jumper I bought, I ended up selling for £90, and I made a quick 20 quid. And those joggers that I sold, I ended up selling for £100, so I made a quick 30 quid. So I realised at the time that I could buy these clothes, and then when I'm finished with them, I could either make my money back, lose a very tiny amount of money, or even make some money. And that literally set off a light bulb moment in my head. I was like, I can make money out of just selling clothes that I wore myself. So I stopped buying stuff in the shop. So you could go to a shop, buy a brand new Stone Island jumper for 250 quid or whatever they were at the time. You'd wear it 4 or 5 times, and then you'd sell it back again for £90 when you're finished with it. And it's kind of like, I'm not going to do that anymore, because if I buy used clothes, wear them, and then sell them again, I'm going to make my money back. But if I buy new clothes, put it in the wash once, it's the same as buying a used jumper. So I had that mindset with me, and I was like, I'm never going to buy new clothes again. And to this day, I very rarely buy new clothes. The only new clothes I buy is when I go buy like a t-shirt from Zara. I can't be head to toe in Stone Island, so I do wear quite a lot of non-branded stuff like Zara, H&M, like for cargos and stuff, because you can't always wear head to toe Stone Island, otherwise you'll look like a bit of a prat. So by the time of buying and selling a couple of bits, I decided that I was going to try and start buying stuff specifically to resell. So I wasn't going to buy it, wear it, sell it on again. I was going to buy it as cheap as I can, and then when I bought it in, took some nice photos of it, and I was going to try and sell it for more money. So I was trying to make a little bit of profit off my money. So the first ever time I resold something, and if you're watching this, Harry, I've got to thank you for doing this deal with me. So I ended up buying a brand new Stone Island hoodie in a sale, and I know I said I never bought brand new, but it was costing £150 at the time, which was an insane deal for brand new. And he really wanted my hoodie. He had a couple of bits of Stone Island that I wanted in his collection, so we ended up having this red Stone Island jacket, which he'd worn a few times, and he also had this navy like buttoned overshirt, like a smart overshirt. And he was like, I'll directly swap you for them. And at the time, I paid £150 for that hoodie. And that jacket I could sell on its own for 200 quid. So I was like, yeah, mate, let's do it. You know, let's meet up. And this was at the point where you could like go and see people in lockdown. So we weren't completely locked down, don't worry. We could do like social distance stuff. So I was like, yeah, mate, let's meet up. So I ended up getting this red Stone Island jacket. And if I can, I don't know how to edit YouTube videos, but I'll put a picture of it on the screen. It's just like this burgundy soft shell jacket, and also the navy overshirt as well. So we met up, we done the deal. And I was like, you know what, I'm really excited for this. My parents went mental, by the way, because I ended up giving them a little bit of cash on top as well. And they were like, oh, why have you spent all this money? It's just a waste. What if you lose all of it? And I was like, you know what, fair enough, parents. But I was going to give it a go. And I was always being a bit of a daredevil, so to speak. I was always hurting myself. I always like to take risks. And I said to my parents, trust me, it will work. Just watch this. So I had a spare 60 quid, and I ended up buying this brand new Stone Island jumper in white. It was a very lightweight jumper. I don't know how I managed to pick it up for 60 quid, but I did, and I was super, super happy about it. So I had these 3 items, and I was like, I'm just going to try and resell, make a bit of money from them. And at the time, my parents were like, oh, why are you spending all this money on clothes? You should be saving again. And I was like, Mum, trust me, it's going to be okay. So then I started advertising these items on my Snapchat specifically, and I ended up getting into contact with a lad called Jamie. And Jamie, if you're watching this and you bought that burgundy Stone Island jacket off of me, I have to thank you forever, because he was my first ever customer, and he bought that jacket off of me for around £220. And at the time I was like, yeah, I've bought a brand new hoodie for £150. I've added a little bit of cash on top. I've added, I think it was about 60 quid on top. So pretty much already I'd broken even, and I'd still had the overshirt to sell. So at the time I was like, this is crazy. I'm going to make like £150 from 2 items, which is a crazy amount of money for someone so young. So I'd done the deal with him. I actually brought my dad with me because I'd never met him before. I was very young. The guy wanted to pay cash. And so I was a little bit nervous. And I messaged one of my friends, and he was like, mate, I know him. He's sound. So I was like, okay, cool. Because I was worried about getting robbed, because selling a £200 jacket in person was a really big deal at the time. So yeah, I wasn't being a pussy or anything. I just had to be a little bit careful. And my parents were very cautious as well. So I'd done that deal. And then a couple of days later, I sold the overshirt for something like £120, because I decided to open up a Depop account, and the guy paid me. So I ended up making like 75 quid off of those 2 items or something like that. And it was, yeah, interesting. So what do you do with your profit? Do you spunk it on FIFA points like you normally would? Or would you be like, right, let's be sensible. Let's put this money in the bank and let's use this money and let's buy more items. And I'm so glad I chose that second option. And I decided to buy some more bits. And it's too long ago now to remember exactly what I bought. But I ended up buying like 3 or 4 new items, and my parents would cap what I could spend on items at any one time. So if I spent £400 or £500, my parents were like, right, don't spend any more, sell these first, and once you've sold them, you can buy some more items. So I was like, yeah, fair enough. So I ended up being quite lucky, and I bought some more items, and I bought them at a good price, and then I sold them on again, and I made a little bit more money. So I ended up starting with somewhere around like £210, which I very quickly, in the space of about a couple of weeks, I ended up turning it into like £300-400, which is a crazy deal for, you know, it's not a very hard way to make money really, is it? Then Ben's Garments was getting a few more followers on Facebook. I was starting to learn how to market out items, how to promote your page, getting your family friends to share it. So new people were coming to me and they were buying clothes. And at the point, I literally had like 400 followers. So I really didn't have a lot, but at the time, it was a huge deal for me, for even people to be buying clothes off me. And I didn't even start Instagram at this point yet. I actually started up a Depop page. But then I very quickly got banned because I used to try and get people to come off the app, go onto Instagram and buy through like bank transfer or PayPal, because Depop used to take like a big chunky 10% off your sale. So I was like, no way are they taking £20 off of me for a sale. Come onto PayPal. I'll lose 4%, or you can pay me by bank transfer. I'm a very reputable seller. I wasn't. I literally had like 20 reviews. And to be fair, some people did bank transfer me, which is very risky, so to speak, because I was a very new seller. So you've always got to be cautious when you're buying online, because you never know with anybody if they're going to do you over. And that is something that I've never experienced. I've always been very, very careful when I'm buying things. I've always used it like a protected way, whether I've used PayPal, which you can easily get scammed on. I've done payment on arrival, which is primarily what I do now. And yeah, luckily I only ever got scammed once, so we'll talk about that quick. So I ended up selling, I think it was a polo shirt or a pair of shorts on Depop. And the guy messaged me, was like, yo, I put my address wrong. It's this, just ignore the one that you've done the delivery. And I thought at the time, I was like, that's fine. And at the time he paid like PayPal checkout on Depop. And I was like, right, that's fine. I sent it to the address and I didn't hear anything for about a couple of weeks. And then I get a dispute email come through on PayPal. And I was like, what's this? And my heart, even though it was a £60 item, there was a lot of money to lose at the time, my heart just sank into my stomach and I was like, what the fuck's happened here? And he said that he claimed that it never arrived. And I was like, well, it has. It's been signed for. You told me for it to go to that address. But what I didn't know about PayPal, you are only covered if you send it to that specific address on the PayPal. Whether they ask you to change it, it has to go to that address on PayPal. He got me to send it to another address, so I wasn't covered and I lost the claim, lost the full £60. So I ended up getting this thing called a three-way scam, and this is where they pay you, ask you to send it to a different address, and then they claim it and they never received it. And that's true because I haven't got proof that I sent it to that address on the PayPal, so they will always side with the buyer. So be very careful when you're selling stuff through PayPal that you never fall into this trap, and make sure that you always send it to the registered address on PayPal, and always use side for deliveries, and just cover your ass, because obviously this can happen to anyone and people have lost a lot of money. I mean, I lost £60 and I think that's the most valuable lesson that I've ever had. So everything kept growing and I kept selling more items. I was making a little bit of money. I wasn't making astronomical amounts of money, so I'm kind of making it out like I was selling loads of items. I was probably selling like 3, 4, maximum 5 items a month at this point. And then I got into a contact with my mate called Tomo, and they were starting a page with 2 of his friends. So there was 3 of them and I would have been the 4th, called Heat from the Spire. Now, I all know you know me as Heat from the Spire, so this is exactly where Heat from the Spire started. So just imagine that I'd be building up my own little page for a bit, and then I had the opportunity to come on board with some other boys, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So this page was going to be specifically a shoe page, selling like all your hyped up Jordans, Dunks, etc. And I was going to do the clothing side of it. And for the first couple of months, it was pretty good. We grew it to about 300 followers, but then the other 2 lads lost interest very quickly. So it was left with me and my mate Tomo, and he'd done the shoe side of things and I'd done the clothing side of things. So once the other two lads left, let's just skip a year, shall we? So we ended up growing the page to around 2,000 followers. We were making sales. We were just building a bit of a name for ourselves, just kind of starting out very, very slowly. I was making a name for myself on Facebook groups. And if you've got a business, which niche has like Facebook groups dedicated towards them, get in there, because your customers are literally sat there. And that's something that I'd done. I'd advertise my products on Facebook, I'd sell them, and then these customers would start looking at my page. And that's how I started to grow like the Stone Island customers on that page. So me and my good friend Tomo, we carried on building it, but then he started posting less and less and seemed very uninterested, and I was very motivated at this point, and I don't think he would mind me saying, and if he does, he'll probably slap me. But anyways, he started losing interest, and I was pushing him, I was like, come on, you're slacking, everything like that. And then we ended up falling out, and he ended up leaving. He was like, I don't really want to do it anymore. I've lost interest. It's not how it used to be. I'm done, I'm finished. And then, yeah, it just left me on my own. And at this point, I was like, shit, I have nobody, and no more shoes. It's just going to be clothes now. So this is probably the point where I felt a bit of responsibility. Like everything was down to me. The page growing, the sales, looking after the customers. This was all down to me. And that was probably around 2021. So about 2 years after we started. And that's when I had the page on my own. And at the point I was working full time in construction now. So I started off as a labourer. I started off with a local building company, and I was just doing general labour stuff, earning daily money. And yeah, I was trying to grow the page, but it was hard getting in the way of work, and I built up a bigger pool of money, but everything was just getting in the way. So I started being quite inconsistent with it. So throughout 2021, I'd be really good for it like 3 months, and then I'd be really like quiet for 3 months, and then I'd come back for 3 months, and then I'd be quiet for 3 months. And now going back, and if I actually put all that time in and I was super consistent, I might be even better than I was today. But I don't regret anything I've done, because it's leading me on a certain path to where I am today. So yeah, quite inconsistent. I left the first construction job, just wasn't enjoying it, and I ended up going to a second construction job, and this job was a lot better. I enjoyed it more. I felt more motivated in life, and I had like work friends, and they were just really nice people. And at the point, I would really enjoy watching TikToks, and I noticed a lot of business owners since being in lockdown would like to get in front of a camera like I am today. And I thought of an idea. I was like, I'm going to get in front of a camera for the first time, and I'm going to advertise my products. And the first video, I got a lot of shit for it. All my friends were laughing at me. Pretty much what I'd done was I made a video, and I had probably like 6 or 7 items, and I made a restock. I had a few jackets. I held them up. I was like, I got this jacket here. It's a size XL. I want £400. And I started off making those videos, and for a good 2-3 months, I was laughed at. But the social media growth in that time was astronomical, and we got the Instagram to around 10,000 followers within the space of about 3 months. Bearing in mind, it was on about 2,000 followers. There wasn't much interaction. So the interaction went from here all the way up to here, and it was probably one of the best things I've done. And everybody's first video is pretty shit, and mine was pretty shit. And I'll see if I can post a little clip on the screen right now. The poor camera quality, the lighting, you could just tell how nervous I was. And now in front of a camera, it's kind of second nature. So if we fast forward right to today, I edit my own videos. I hope you like them. I make them look quite good. And yeah, so let's go back to that. Let's not go too far forwards. So I ended up making more videos. So I ventured out onto TikTok, posting the videos on there. I got a lot of trouble for it. And the first turning point in my business, so there was a local lad that went quite viral. His name was Alan. You might know him for the suck on them me chavvy guy. Really nice guy, really down to earth. And if you're watching this, Alan, I hope you're doing well in life at the moment. But I decided to get him in a Stone Island jacket and start shadowboxing. And that video in itself, I think around's got about 7 million or 5 million views now. And that got me around 2,000 followers in the space of 24 hours. And everybody was coming onto my page, and they were messaging me like, suck on them, each other, everything like that. And this was the first time I felt like people like are coming onto my page because they enjoyed the video. So I've got to really thank Alan for that, because he started the boost of the social media growth, and I realized how powerful making videos was. It's not just all about posting some photos of some clothes. It's all about, being out there, being different to everybody else. So these videos turned into weekly or daily. I can't remember how we done the restocks, but we used to do the restock videos, and then we started doing informative videos. So I would talk about a certain product, or I remember the one that really sticks out in my mind is that what is Stone Island in 60 seconds? And I explained what Stone Island was, and it ended up getting over 1 million views on TikTok. And at the point, Get the Badge In was a very popular trend on TikTok. So I was like, right, okay, let's do what is Get the Badge In and what that means. And within 24 hours, that video got over 1 million views, and my TikTok went from 3,000 followers to 30,000 followers. And then I started realizing how powerful social media really is. Now at this point, I was able to get more stock in, and I was selling it faster because more people was looking at my page. So I was starting to make more and more money, and because I was quite sensible with it, I constantly reinvested. I didn't end up spunking it on fever points or anything irresponsible. So it got to the point, I was building money, my social media was growing, and as you were learning on the job, so to speak, I was learning how to run a business, and it was very exciting. It was very, very scary, and that probably carried on to around November of 2022, I believe. So I ended up getting so much stock because I started in my bedroom, and then I outgrew my bedroom. So then I went downstairs, and we have like a dining room, which we don't really use to dine in or anything. My mum has like her own craft corner, and then I had like a little corner with a big double rail on it, and I would fill them up full of clothes. But it was getting to the point there was too many clothes, and it was overflowing the thing. And my parents were like, Ben, I know that you want to save as much money as you can, but go and get an office. And I got the opportunity to get an office in November of 2022. And yeah, so November of 2022, I moved into my first office, and it was one of the most surreal feelings ever. I mean, like to have your own office. I think I was, 18 years old or something like that. To be 18 years old or 19, to have your own office was one of the most surreal feelings. And that is probably one of the biggest achievements of my business to date. So if I have a photo, I'm going to put one on the screen now of what my office looked like when I first moved in. So I had a couple of big rails in the corner, which were about half full, and that is all I had. And the rent for the office was about £416 a month. So I had to have a bit more responsibility. I had to make minimum of £416 a month selling in order to cover the office. So at the time, I was still working in that construction job, and by then I'd started my bricklaying apprenticeship. So I didn't have to worry about paying myself, but I had to worry about paying for the office, which was a little bit of responsibility on my shoulders. So I ended up paying for the office for a couple of months, but the business just started booming. I was getting sales every day. Like everything was just ramping up. The social media sales, I was buying more items, getting more back. People were coming to meet me with stock. I was able to buy loads because the cash flow had gotten big, not like huge, but it gotten a lot bigger. So I was able to buy more. People were messaging my Instagram being like, mate, I got stuff to sell. I used to give them a quote, and that was it. And I was just getting a free flow of stock. I was selling it super fast, and it was getting to the point, this bricklaying apprenticeship, can I carry it on for the next 2 years? Because it was getting so busy with business that I was up till like 10, 11 o'clock every night photographing, getting ready for restock. So imagine my work day. I started at 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get home till 5 o'clock. And between that 5 to 7 o'clock, I had to prepare for a restock. So that restock, I didn't have any time to make myself food. I'd get that restock done, and then I'd eat. And after I'd done that, I had to pack up yesterday's orders because I didn't have time to do it during the day. So it would take me to about 9 o'clock. And then I had to sort all that out, and that took me a couple of hours. And so that would take me to 9, 10 o'clock every single day. And then after that 9 o'clock, I'd make a video. I'd do my restock video, or I'd make a new like informative video. And everything was just growing. And it was getting to the point where I would go up to work every morning. And I say this from a very humble perspective. You know, I don't ever want to rub money into people's face. And that's nothing that I ever want to do on this channel or anything like that. It was getting to the point that I'd wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was -7 degrees outside. And my wage at the time was probably about 80 quid a day. So for my age, it was about £9.50 an hour. But I was getting up, and I had already earned £200 overnight through my business, and it started to demotivate me to work, because it was like, why am I getting up working for 8 hours to earn £80 when I spend 4 hours in the evening earning £200? So that was a mindset that I developed quite quickly, and I was very tempted to quit my job. And when I mentioned this to my mum, she was like, you wouldn't do that, you have nothing to fall back on, the biggest risk of your life. And I've always been a risk taker, and I mentioned that earlier on in the video, and I was like, I like the sound of this. So I really thought about taking it full time. And this was around November again, probably about a month or actually, let's just say December. This was probably like a month after I started my office, and I was like, I really don't want to do this anymore. And my parents were giving me a lot of trouble for it. And if you're watching this, mum and dad, I don't regret all the arguments we had over it. I think it was good and helped me make my end decision. Right, so now we're in December. Sorry, my camera decided to cut itself off, so I completely lost track. So September, December is the busiest month of the year, and we were in the start of December and everything was super busy. And I was getting up and I was earning 200, 300, 400, 500 pounds overnight just from selling, and I was going to work. So I was heavily contemplating going full time. And I thought, you know, why do I need to go to work when I could fully focus on my business, fully focus on social media and earn even more money during the day than I do with my other job? And I discussed this to my parents, and my parents were very much like, no, you can't do that. It's not sustainable. You have nothing to fall back on, which in the truth, that's true. But at the same time, at the time I was 19 or 20 years old, I had no debts. I mean, I had rent to pay every month. That's £100 a month. I had a phone bill. That's maximum £200 a month. I knew myself I was going to make that money, and I knew that I could pay for my office because the amount of money I was making and reinvesting at the time. So go through December. December's extremely busy. We break up for Christmas from my construction job. And at the time, my construction job was messing me around quite a lot. So I was meant to be a bricklaying apprentice, and they were meant to be getting me onto bricklaying jobs, and it just never happened. I was doing the same labour and stuff. I wasn't learning anything. And I had this serious discussion with my parents, which again, they were like, you can't run a business. You know, you're too young. You have nothing to fall back on. And this brings us into January. The day I go back to work, on New Year, I felt so demotivated. I had such a good December. I had such a good Boxing Day, good New Year. Sales were absolutely flying. We come back into work, and there was a bricklayer there, and he was doing work with no like apprentice or anything. And I was like, why am I not working with him? And I was that round there labouring, and I was really at the point with the job where I was like, I just can't be asked to do this anymore. And I'm a very stubborn guy, and if you know me personally, you'll know that I just really don't give a fuck sometimes. So at 10 a.m. that day, I thought, you know what? I don't care what my pet family say. I don't care about this job anymore. I'm going to give it a go, and if it is the time to do it, I'm going to do it now. 10 a.m. that day, I walked out and I quit my job, and fast forward today, and I haven't been back since. And that was probably the most stupid and best decision that I've ever made at the time, believe it or not. My parents went fucking mental at me, and they were like, I can't believe you've done that. You've ruined such a good opportunity. Your business, what if it fails? What are you going to fall back on? And I said, Mum, relax. I'm 19 years old. If I need to get a new job, I can go get a new job. And at the time, it's easy to get into little places like Tesco's and stuff. If it was going to fail, I could go back into it. And for the first couple of months, I didn't regret it, but I was like, I could still work a job around this, but I forgot about that, and I just carried on selling as I would. And January and February were quite quiet compared to the likes of December, November, October, because it was probably the quietest 2 months of their life. So for the first couple of months, I was a little bit unsure, but then I decided to do something else, which possibly changed my life again. So I started doing these silly little TikToks. So imagine TikTok's over 50,000 now, Instagram's around 15,000. I started doing these silly little dress up videos with a balaclava, and when I say my Instagram went from 17k to about 40k in the matter of 2 days, my TikTok flew over 100,000 all very quickly. Just because I was doing some zip pulling, you know, like zips, like it wasn't even anything unreal. Instagram's algorithm was just loving it, and I was getting tens of thousands of likes, loads of new followers, sales started ramping up again. And what this done was open me new opportunities. I started getting a couple of small brand deals, and then a company called Tilt, which if you know me again, you'd know that I sell on there, and I still do today, was very new. They only launched in February. They got in contact with me in March, and they were like, yo, we're this new live stream shopping app where you can sell clothes online. And I'm thinking, right. Because I didn't really think of the idea before, and I thought it was quite strange. So essentially, you go on a live stream, you show your products, and you can sell them live to customers, and they can interact with you in real time. And I was like, you know what, let's give it a go, because this could be another avenue of income for me, because I was just using my website, and at the time, having loads of followers on TikTok, I wasn't earning any money from it, because at the time they didn't use that creativity program beta where they pay you money. They were literally paying you peanuts. I think I earned like £300 in the space of like a year. It was very, very small. I was like, you know what, we'll give it a go. And if we fast forward it today, Tilt is a huge income source for me. I've got loads. I think we've got about 14,000 followers on there. Bear in mind the app's only about 18 months old now. So I got introduced to them. I've done loads of social media work. I got given good opportunities. I've learned a lot how to sell online. So I went from having one income stream from my website to having two. So I was making a lot more money. So if we start taking a quick walk through the next year, I was doing a lot of social media because I had the time to do it because I was full-time. I was coming up with new ideas. I was making videos, they were going viral or they weren't doing so well, and I was learning the Instagram algorithm. I think me doing social media was one of the biggest turning points in this business. This got me known. It got to the point, which I think is really weird because I'm a very chilled out guy. It got to the point where people wouldn't recognize me in the street, and I think that's really strange. I think only having 100,000 followers doesn't make you famous or anything like that. Maybe the odd person might recognize you locally, but I was getting to the point where people would recognize me, and I still think that's really, really strange. And I would never I almost get embarrassed. I don't feel like I deserve that, but that still happened. And yeah, the business just kept growing. It became more sustainable. I was learning so much, and it pretty much brings us out to where we are today. So that office that I had, I moved out of that in August, and it's now October. Now I filmed this video and I'm in a much bigger office now. We've got loads of rooms, so much space. And the point of this YouTube channel isn't me just going to be waffling on like this. We're going to be bringing you weekly videos of what I get up to in a week. So it's not going to be me talking about how I run a business. I'm not going to try to sell you a course. I'm just going to show you what I do week to week with this business and how we do our business activities. I might show you a few little things like, how to do a VAT return. I might show you little things like that because you might be a very young lad watching this video and you might be like, I've really been inspired off of Ben, right? And I really want to learn how to run a business. So I will include little things in my videos that might help you start up or give you different ideas. So yeah, so what we're going to be doing a weekly video. We might do some little jacket reviews in between, but we'll do a weekly video of just activities, what I get up to in a week, day in the lives pretty much. And I don't know if you guys watch Asheville Aggregates. It's going to be very similar format. I mean, nowhere near as edited. I'm probably not going to edit these videos much. They're just going to be very simple, me talking to a camera. But I'm going to try and go across that format because he's been really successful in showing what his business gets up to, and subsequently from that, this could potentially be a new avenue for me to bring new people to my page. So yeah, this is Heat from the Spire, and we may as well round it off here. But make sure you subscribe to the channel, and it sounds really, really weird saying that, but make sure you hit that subscribe button, and hopefully we can get to 500 subscribers very soon. But it's going to be a very slow growth. No other sellers made a YouTube channel, so we're going to start it from here. But nice to meet you all, and if you made it to the end of this video, very well surprised because I'm probably the most boring person on earth. But anyways, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.